So this week was another monumental week. We got a lot of work done for a change. I actually feel like we're getting somewhere. So you look here, our booth is finished. We're gonna make a couple more modifications and some tweaks to it, but we've engineered it in a way that the floor is actually, it's not really floating, but it's isolated from the concrete. We actually took these strips of 2x4, set them on glue, and we're gonna put some insulation paneling in here in between these little sets. Some of the structural changes we had to make, we added blocking to the walls because the original owner didn't have it. Don't ask me why. We wanted to go for sort of a lodgy or a woodsy theme with the room, so we took these Doug fir 4x6s and we're using them as trusses for the ISO booth. We stained them. You can see over here we're going to use this tongue and groove as the sort of the ceiling to that room, which will also sand and stain. Going over here, the control room window has been framed in. I'm really happy with the results of it. It's actually a double wall. If you look at how we did this, we have the first wall, which is this guy here, and then there's a sill plate that's been bolted next to it. So we actually have two separate walls right next to each other. You can kind of see what's going on here. We've added a section here to put my isolation transformers. So what on the surface appears to be just a space, it's an angle for the room, actually serves a purpose. We're going to put shelving in here that all of our electrical lines will drop down into this shelf, and we're going to have 3 of these isolation transformers mounted in here, although the average studio musician won't see it because it will be behind the wall. And of course we've added an additional wall or a glass here. All of these came from Sage, these glass sheets. You can see that we've added some strapping to these walls here. The concern is in a seismic event, since this is a load-bearing wall and we pulled out a huge chunk of it, it would be a good idea for us to actually have some reinforcement, and that's what these little metal straps are doing. You frame the front wall and you'll notice that that white line that runs across the top is actually straight now. That's because they jacked the roof up with a car jack, and they basically move the header up about an inch to get it so that it's straight. So that white line, which was the old trim for the garage, it's actually run straight now. Trying to think of some other things to point out. Oh yeah, actually this is worth pointing out. It's a little bit nitpicky, but I've done this in every room I've been in so far. In front of me you can see the shear wall that actually supports this wall. It's this load-bearing wall, and in the event of an earthquake, it's what keeps this thing together. You'll notice there's still some undried caulking in here. I went through, at this point, 8 tubes of caulking throughout the room, and all of these seams and these joints, anywhere there's any sort of a joint where these things come together, or for that matter, even nail holes or old nail holes, like you see right there. I've gone through and filled in all of these gaps with caulking to make sure that there's no leakage possible through those little air gaps. Now I admit it's a small thing, you're probably not going to hear it, but you know, all these holes start to add up, and as we get into the acoustical side of things, trying to prevent transmission between these two spaces, certainly the 2 walls and the drywall and the caulking and all these extra features that we're adding are going to help, but going the extra mile and filling in all these extra holes or just damage to the overall wood, it's going to make a big difference, and that's kind of what we're hoping to do. Here you can see it filled in a bunch of other stuff. At any rate, that kind of gives you the update of where we're at now. We've still got a long way to go. That door, which you can't see behind the garage door, is coming next week. This door over here is going to get ripped out. We're putting in the right size door. We'll be moving into electrical next. So that's where I think things are going to kind of come together. The room is going to be good. So just stay tuned, and we should have some really interesting progress to show you over the next 2 weeks. You can see the previous owner put a door in, and I'm sorry for the bad lighting, but the door is out. And this was their solution to a header problem. They used a 2x4, and then that was their support, 2 nails. By the way, this is a load-bearing wall. For those of you that don't know what that means, this wall is holding the building up, 2 nails.